I got energized. I mean, how can you not get energized when you meet with these young people? It's so exciting, and their commitment and their passion, and you just think, oh my word, that's just what we need right now. So yes, it's very energizing, and they also, the other thing that they're good about doing is they ask great questions. I mean, they make you think through. It's like, okay, now why did I do that? And so they're very thoughtful, very committed, and I just love their energy and enthusiasm.
I think the leadership salons that they've done at conferences are just phenomenal. I love those. I think it lets younger people have an interaction with a leader that they would have never otherwise had, honestly. Because you go to these big conferences and you see someone you want to talk to, but you might be a little intimidated. They might be surrounded by 10 other people, and so there's no way you're going to talk to them. So I think those leadership salons and the opportunity for folks to interact with these foundation leaders that they might be admiring from afar, I think is another great aspect that EPIP has provided to, to expose folks to the folks who did come before them, who were kind of already in this social change mindset in their own right. And at their own organizations, or they were doing something completely innovative and creative and wonderful that folks might want to take to their own respective foundations. So I think that's another piece of preparing, because you always can learn from someone who came before you. So I think that's also a big part of EPIP that is helping people get ready.
EPIP has provided a lot of folks with insight into how to interact with the different generations that may be present in their workplace, so that their young people are arriving on the job, for many of their first jobs in philanthropy, sort of not totally shell-shocked, but with with some real concrete insights into why people of different generations may be acting the way they are, maybe responding to young people the way they are, and really, I think EPIP's done a great job of framing those generational issues very positively.
I think it's all about tomorrow's leaders. And when you start working with younger professionals in philanthropy and investing time and energy into their growth, why wouldn't you want to be thinking about where they're going to be tomorrow and how you can further support that? I mean, before the economic crisis, we all talked about when, the baby boomers retire, will there be this vacuum of leadership? And so I think it behooves us all to think about how we're going to fill that vacuum, and who we're investing in, and how we're preparing them, and how we'll have leaders who are already capable of stepping into that role.
For us, and for me in particular, we believe that EPIP plays a critical role in acculturating the next generation of leaders and foundation staffers. And so that process to me is really important, because it's important to bring new perspectives to the field of philanthropy, and also to overcome that barrier that in the past people that isolation that one feels when you join the field of philanthropy. Mm-hmm. If you're not well connected, I think that I think their role in that, in helping build relationships, helping build connections, and helping demystify the field to newcomers, I think is a great service.
Giving young people in philanthropy, particularly young professionals in philanthropy, a platform to speak for ourselves, I think is one of the main contributions EPIP has made to the field of philanthropy and to the generational change that's going on. It's so important that we're given a chance and a platform to share our values and share our visions with our own voice, rather than have other people speak for us. And EPIP gives us that space consistently, both at the national and the local level.
I think it's really that it's from your peers more than anything, because you kind of, one of the things that always has seemed great in our meetings as a chapter is just people are very open and talk about their experience, and we know it's a safe space where you can talk about what's going on in your workplace and how leadership issues, generational issues, all those things come into play, and kind of just bounce things off each other. And someone else might say, I had a similar situation in my workplace, and here's how I handled it, and here's how I was able to effectively move forward on the things I wanted to move forward, even though I'm not necessarily in a position of authority. And you take that back to work, and it's just inspiring, because you can go back the next day and put some of those things to action. And it's not coming from a motivational speaker, and it's not coming from a seminar on how to be a leader. It's coming from people like you who've done it. And to me, I've said it over and over again, that's for me the most valuable thing about EPIP.
Immeasurably. I asked Elizabeth about her experiences of EPIP, and she said this really gave me a space, first of all, to have a community of people that she could turn to, who are at the same crossroads of opportunity, of choice, who are asking the same questions about, what is my calling as far as, my profession? Where does philanthropy fit in? What's the good, bad, and the ugly about philanthropy? Both in DC and in San Francisco. And she's been here for less than 6 months. And it actually created a ready-made community for her that I see her being very engaged with.
Right.
So it can be very hard to move to a new city and do startup in an organization, and a lot is expected of her. But to have to have folks who've not only who she's met, but who are along that same trajectory. I know on a day-to-day level that she has support outside of the organization, and I really encourage her to be involved with the leadership of the organization.
From my perspective as the executive director, our staff who have been engaged with EPIP have brought a capacity for bold vision and confident and competent leadership.
When I was a program associate, it's not like people are falling over themselves to have you be on their boards of directors or, be in chairing meetings or be in any kind of a leadership capacity because you're thought of as young and sort of that you haven't put in your time and earned your stripes and all that kind of stuff. So by being involved in EPIP, it was a very concrete way for me to test out a leadership style.
I think the value is it helps us do our jobs better, because it doesn't help to go into your job doing things blindly. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times the more seasoned professionals are sort of reluctant to reach back and encourage and reach back and educate. Because, it's almost like they're afraid the next generation is trying to take over. When really, we're not trying to take over, but we just really want to do effective grant making. And I think EPIP sort of gives us the tools to be able to do that.
I think it provides a base of information that's key for all of the other affinity groups. We know we have a broad spectrum of our membership that we need to be addressing and serving and providing needs for, but we don't have I don't think any of us have the capacity to do the full spectrum of the work that we really need to do. But if we're able to partner with groups that have some similar alignment, if EPIP provides programming that's really focused at emerging leaders, it makes much more sense for me and emerging practitioners, much more sense for me to work more directly with EPIP and help my membership get that support through the EPIP network.
All sets of unspoken rules, and EPIP remains the only place for new or young people to just sort of get comfortable in their skin, in their professional skin, and to reconcile that with their personal values. So there are no other affinity groups that claim to do that or that do that in the same way.
That conference really impressed me. Social justice was something, and looking at issues of equity, given that only 1 out of 3 philanthropic dollars go to the largest possible umbrella of underserved groups. EPIP is a space to really talk about equity, talk about justice from a number of different valences, and to think about the connections between them. I think that might happen at the local level. Northern California Grantmakers does a terrific job of it, but I think social justice philanthropy is something that courses through the veins here in the Bay Area more than other places. But EPIP has, I think, taken a courageous stand by putting this front and center as part of its thought leadership platform, and I commend it.
Well, I think that EPIP as an organization wants to build a field of philanthropy that reflects social justice work. So I think that EPIP's work to support the next generation of leaders of color in the field and to develop young people of color in philanthropy is a real powerful way of advancing social justice philanthropy, not only for the work that philanthropy does in the world, but also what philanthropy looks like and how race and age and class are all a part of the field of philanthropy.
I think the meeting that they did in Detroit, now unfortunately, while I try to sneak in, I'm too old and they kick me out, okay? But actually, I'm teasing. Rusty's very generous and occasionally lets me, sneak in. But the meeting they did in Detroit, I thought they did a very good job of raising some of the social justice issues that Detroit is dealing with, both issues of structural racism and issues of, frankly, social class as well, because we've had such a huge impact on the blue-collar, working middle class in Detroit as a result of the collapse of the auto industry. So when they came to Detroit and Caroline at Kresge at that time was the board chair, I thought they did a very good job of raising those social justice questions in that training that they did there.
I got a chance to go to the PDF, which was, I think, life-changing is the only way I can put it. Absolutely inspiring to be with a group of young people of color. I think it was almost all women of color, too. So young women of color working in philanthropy. That in itself is powerful, to have that space where you're with people who look like you and may have come from similar backgrounds that you have and really are trying to figure out a way, like I said, to make their own difference in the philanthropic world.
What EPIP has done is to, in many respects, accelerate the engagement of the next generation by having an organization focused upon and composed of the next generation. So there's simply significant more people who are known and who are seen and who are engaged